Do you know that 41% of parents say that they are so stressed out most days they can't even function? And nearly half of parents, 48%, say that it feels completely overwhelming. And on top of that, 65% of parents experience loneliness, with the number jumping to 77% if you are a single parent. And this isn't just a passing struggle, it seems to be a crisis. Parenting has never been meant to be done alone. As U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy says, we must foster a culture of connection among parents to combat loneliness and isolation. And that's exactly why I'm so excited to connect with Monica Richardson, who is the founder of TAPS, an organization that is dedicated to supporting parents and families through some of life's toughest challenges. We're going to talk about how we can bridge that gap between the stress and the support, loneliness and connection, and how parents can find the help they need without the shame or the stigma. So, if you're a parent and you're feeling the weight of it all, then this episode is for you. So, let's dive in. In our most sleep deprived moments, our children will teach us exactly what we need in order to learn and grow into who we were created to be. These are the loving lessons we will learn whether we were wanting to or not. I'm Irene Googe, your sleep coach, and I'm on mission to educate parents on how to help their young children sleep. Welcome to the journey. Hello, and welcome to the Loving Lessons Learned podcast. I am super excited to have Monica Richardson, who is a good friend and the executive director of Triangle Area Parenting Support. And her life and her work is based on some simple yet powerful ideas that every parent deserves a supportive community. Let's just say, heck yes, we all need parent support. And the mission at Triangle Area Parent Support is to empower parents through information, connection, and support, which focuses their attention on the joys and challenges of each parent, caregiver, and their little ones. So welcome, Monica. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thanks, Irene. It's fun to be here.
And I am so excited to share, I have known you since the beginning of this journey. I remember meeting you way back when at a Vend Raleigh event. It was at an Illuminate conference, and you shared what you were doing. And I was like, this is amazing. So I wonder if you could share with everyone who's listening kind of what inspired you to start TAPS. TAPS is the Triangle Area Parent Support, and how its mission has evolved over time.
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. It really goes all the way back to my days as a high school social studies teacher, where I had students coming into class and their parents weren't really engaged and they were struggling with learning. And when I started looking at their files, I noticed that the struggles didn't start in high school, right? Those struggles had kind of followed them throughout their school years. And so then I started doing research into, well, why do kids show up not ready to learn? And it goes all the way back to the very beginning of their journey, all the way back even to conception and how their parent was ready for raising them, even before they were born. And so through that research and learning more about infant brain development and parent support, secure attachment, and all of those different things, we decided that this would be a great service to provide to Triangle parents, and so then we did.
I love it. And, I think a lot of what you're saying, like sometimes as school teachers, I used to teach fifth and sixth grade, and we see these challenges, and you're like, I know this isn't something new. So I love that you recognize that. You mentioned conception. Can you talk a little bit more about what a parent might need to know and understand, and how that might be impacting them in their parenting journey
Yeah.
now?
The science is really cool when you look at epigenetics and how the stress that a parent is experiencing before and during pregnancy is passed on to their child. If a mom is experiencing like prenatal anxiety, for example, she's more likely to experience postpartum anxiety. And that mood disorder is considered a child's first adverse childhood event. And we know because of some really great research out of Kaiser Permanente that when a child experiences more than four adverse events from a list of 10 before they turn 18, they're more likely to have long-term negative health outcomes like hypertension and diabetes and mental health conditions and that sort of thing. And so it really does go all the way back to before a child is born.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes parents may not even realize that, and I'm going to just share, like, I don't know that I knew that. Even as a
Oh,
school teacher, like, I kind of would shame myself for some years where I was like, "How did you not know this?" As an educator. But I think that not enough people are talking about it, but in the circles that we're in, with parents who or with parents and providers that are really trying to change the story and help bring that education awareness, it makes a huge difference in changing outcomes for children.
yeah. And I just read some new research this week. Maybe it came out in the last couple of months that providing prenatal therapy, like going to see a psychotherapist while you're pregnant, if you're experiencing or are at risk of experiencing a postpartum mood disorder, can prevent that postpartum depression or anxiety from setting in. So this is really cool new research. They can do therapy like prophylactically as a preventative measure, which I think is
Yeah.
just really neat.
Yeah, no. And I think too in my work as a postpartum doula, like what's fascinating is that it's not just about the baby. It's
Yeah.
about taking care of the mom, who's helping take care of the baby. And not to say that dad or others are not important caregivers in that circle of, everyone in the family, but just recognizing like moms need that support from the
So much.
beginning.
So much. Yeah.
And so I wonder if you can talk a little bit about like the programs that you offer with TAPS. What does that look like if someone were to get connected and things like that?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work listening to the community and finding out what people want to have, what people are missing, either from their OBGYN or their birth education class, what kinds of information people are lacking, and then trying to, get that into their hands. And so for a person who is pregnant and is wondering, well, how can I get more support? We really encourage them to sign up for one of our workshops. We do 2 to 4 different kinds of workshops every month, and they're usually offered in Spanish and in English. Recently, we've had workshops like prenatal yoga or baby and me yoga. We've done car seat safety education. We've done infant development and play, like DIY toys at home. So all kinds of different, just little educational workshops so you can attend to learn more about getting ready for baby. And then after your child is born, or actually even before your child is born, you can start attending one of our infant feeding support groups. So we have a breastfeeding support group in Spanish and in English. And you can come while you're pregnant and get education about like how you can prepare, what kind of gear do you need, what should questions you be asking in the hospital and of your lactation consultant and your pediatrician during the first couple of weeks. And then you can keep coming back after your child is born to get support for that breastfeeding journey that you're on, or, to help set your goals and meet your goals. And then when your baby is, a couple of weeks old, we want to try to get parents connected into a community of their peers through the PEPS program. And that's a cohort program, which I really love. This is like one of my favorite programs ever on the planet. I did it with my first, who's now 14, and I'm still friends with the moms that were in my group.
And what does PEP stand for, Monica?
PEPS is the Program for Early Parent Support. And they started in 1983 in Seattle, Washington. And part of my parenting journey is that I had my first baby in Seattle, where I had one friend in the whole state. And she had just, oh my God, she had just had her baby and said, Monica, I'm doing this program. You need to do this program. You don't have any friends. Sign up. Here's my laptop. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. So of course I'm going to sign up for this program. And I showed up with my 3-week-old baby, and there was a room of 10 other moms and our facilitators. And we spent the next 12 weeks bonding about all kinds
Mm.
of things, feeding pain, relationship challenges, babies pooping all over us, sleep issues. But the fun stuff too, like dressing our kids up for Halloween and sharing Christmas gifts and other holidays together. And then we left Seattle when my oldest was about 5, and all of the members of our PEPS group showed up to wish us well at our goodbye party. So,
Oh,
so those are the kinds of communities that we hope to build through every single newborn PEPS group that TAPS puts together here. And I was just talking with a parent yesterday who did a group. Oh, her child is in 2nd grade now. So they did a group really like way back in the beginning
early on. Yeah.
and said that they are still connected. They still have friends from that group that they call and rely on. So that's the kind of power of community support that we're hoping to build through the PEPS program.
Yeah. I think that sometimes as parents, we can get so busy and feel like we're so alone in in the trenches. And I think that when we can connect with others who are in that season of life, but even sometimes outside of that season to have some mentorship, there's so much value and power to that. And it can help with so many outcomes.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, is anyone able to come to the infant feeding support groups, all these workshops? Like, or do they have to go through a process to check in, or how does that work to get involved with TAPS?
Yeah, so every event that we run, there's an RSVP form. Anybody can attend any of the workshops. There's no limitations. And then for the PEPS groups, we're trying to arrange groups of families that have things in common with each other, like location, like baby's age. And so when you sign up for that group, we'll kind of call you and talk about what your needs are, make sure that you are connected to any resources that you need. So for families who have limited resources, we're going to make sure that they're connected to, resources for diapers and clothing and anything else that they might need for their infant. And for families with more resources, their challenges tend to be a little bit different, but we're still working on making sure that they're connected to, whatever they may need.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, and then when their group starts, families that live in Raleigh are meeting with families that live in Raleigh. Families that live in Durham are meeting with families that live in Durham. And so, based on where families live, that's where we're connecting them with each other.
So we're here in that Raleigh Durham area. Do you have virtual programs available for anyone who might be watching, or any connections for them to get connected with
Yeah,
any
so
parenting resource groups?
we do have an interest form for virtual groups. And even some of the local groups will do virtually if parents are not feeling comfortable getting out of the house with their infant yet. So there is a virtual option also.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to share those links down below in the show notes so that everyone can get connected and figure out that just right spot and that right workshop to check out. Monica, I'm wondering, what misconceptions do people have about families in need of support?
Um, I think that there is this misconception that families can figure it out for themselves.
Mm,
That uh, that you have all the information that you need. It's easy to find. You can Google that. Oh, why don't you just go find a group on Facebook? But the truth is that it's really hard to build a level of trust with a group of people that you're willing to kind of share all of your challenges with. So many parents are going through challenges and just hiding it from their family, from their neighbors. They're kind of holding those challenges close to their chest, and that creates increased stress for them. And that increased stress is just really bad for us. And there's so many trolls on the internet that a lot of families don't, you're not making the connections that you want to make in a social media group. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Were you going to add something else?
I was just gonna say, so by making the groups a cohort instead of like a drop-in kind of session, that you're gonna see the same people week after week. And about 4 weeks in, it usually takes about 4 weeks of meetings, the stories that people start sharing are different. They start sharing more candidly about their struggles and their joys, and there's laughter and mutual support is given and information is shared. And so that's kind of why it's so important to us that the groups meet as a cohort and not just as like a drop-in support session.
I love that. Is there any specific success story that might highlight the impact that Triangle Area Parent Support has?
Oh, there's so many great stories.
Tell me a good one.
Okay, so the very first group that I led, I was still even figuring out what resources the Triangle had to offer. The very first group that I led, we had one mom show up the first week, just totally distraught. Her colicky child, she couldn't get the baby to sleep. She wasn't sleeping herself. Even after the baby was asleep, she was still up ruminating. And one of the other moms in the group um, said, "Hey, did you know that we have one of the nation's only inpatient mood disorder clinics at UNC?" And I didn't know this yet. I mean, I do now. And she said, "Here, I happen to have the card of a psychiatrist." And so they have this conversation back and forth. And the mom who was struggling had said that she had done the Edinburgh postpartum depression survey with her OB, and her OB said she didn't qualify and she didn't have postpartum depression. So she calls this psychiatrist whose card she got from a member of the group. And that psychiatrist says, "Well, your symptoms tell me that you probably have postpartum anxiety. Let's get you in. Let's have a longer conversation." And by the time she came back to the next group meeting, she had seen the psychiatrist. She was on a medication. She was sleeping better, which meant that she had more of her skills available to be able to problem solve what was wrong with her child. And so her child was sleeping better. I mean, it was just night and day from one week to the next because someone in the group had a piece of information and shared it. I mean, just so powerful.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it is that power of just getting connected with the right resource at the right time that can change so much. I know for me, like, I didn't know that all these amazing resources existed here in the Triangle. And I was like, how do we communicate this? How do we share all these great resources that are available to parents so that they don't have to feel alone in this journey?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's like a parent who's watching this, like, how would you encourage, what would you encourage them to look for specifically when they're trying to connect with a mom group? Because I think it can be a little intimidating. And there are some more mom groups popping up now, but like how they can kind of navigate that and like maybe steps they can take to take that next step to make it happen.
Yeah, I think, I would just tell them, don't be afraid to show up and put yourself out there and tell your story authentically. I do think that there are so many caring people in this area, and the trolls on the internet notwithstanding, when you show up in person and you're sharing about the challenges that you're having with your baby, the whole room's empathy just resonates. And so I would say don't be afraid to just share what is going on with the group that you have decided to join, whatever. I mean, you're right. There are so many great groups that have formed even since I founded TAPS 8 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever it was. So, uh, and so then one of the other things you want to look at is how does your schedule line up with the play dates or the meetings that are scheduled for the group that you're looking at joining. If you're working, then you want to look for a group that has evening or weekend availability. If you're a stay-at-home parent, then you want to look for something that fits your schedule there. If you're a parent with preschool-age children, then maybe you want to meet with moms while your child's at school. So schedule is really important. Location is really important. And then I really think that it's also important to think about like interest level. So some people have had really great success joining groups based on interest. Maybe you really love reading and you want to join a book club. Maybe you love plants and want to join a plant club. whatever that interest of yours is, can really foster connection with the group that you decide to join.
Yeah. No, I love what you just shared that like just getting together in person can make the biggest difference because I think of some of the Facebook groups that and like the conversations that happen in them. And sometimes they can go really toxic, I think that when you're online, you don't always get that. But if you have like a built in community and then you're meeting online, it can make a huge difference because you've had some of that face to face time and you've connected as you're building kind of your tribe of like who you're going to be connecting with and doing life with in this season with your little one.
Yeah, well, and there's rules of engagement there too. Like if you've already gotten to know some people and then you happen to meet online, you know that they're not going to shame you for a decision that you've made with your child, right? There's so many right ways to parent. And I think that on the internet, people are really passionate about their personal favorite way to parent their child, whether it's feeding or sleep or infant development or school or whatever. We all have these, ideas that we're so passionate about. But the truth is that every single child is different, and every parent really is the expert on their own child. And every parent is motivated to do the best that they can for their child. And so when you put your question out to the internet, you're going to get all these answers that conflict with each other because all the different ways of parenting are all so different. So if you have a trusted community that you can walk that path with, that you can reflect with and say, "Hey, I tried this and it didn't work. Does anybody have any other ideas?" And they know you already and you can trust them to give you an idea that fits with your values. And then you can kind of authentically explore different ways of parenting with your community. And so that's why I think it's so important to start that community so early in life.
I love it. One of the things you guys talk about in TAPS that I really love, I did some training with the circle of security. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that and share what that is with parents, because I think that's an important concept for someone
Yeah.
to kind of know and understand.
Yeah, so Circle of Security Parenting is the program that we offer for parents of toddlers. So you have your workshops in breastfeeding and your newborn group, and then your baby gets to be older than about 6 months, and they're starting to move around, and then we can start looking at what is their secure attachment with you as a parent. So the Circle of Security is an evidence-based model for understanding how secure attachment is built between the caregiver and the child. And the idea is that the child is always on the circle. They are always moving out to explore the world and then coming back in to get their emotional cup filled. And the parent's role is to really be a secure base that the child launches out to explore from, and also a safe haven for the child to come back into to be refilled and refueled so that they can go explore more. And this is a really natural thing that happens. You can literally see it on the playground. This is so fun. If you ever go to the playground, you'll see toddlers like run out and try something and they look back, Mom, watch me. Right. And that's a watch over me moment. And then the parent says, I'm watching. And that fills that child's cup so that they have courage to keep trying new things. This is how we build self-esteem into our children, how we build up confidence. And when you start really early with this kind of responsiveness, even with your infants, right? When you're in sync with your child and you notice when they need stimulation or when they're tired and they need a break, that in syncness that parents have with their children builds their child's security and their confidence in themselves to be able to manage their emotions both on their own and with someone else as they grow. And I think this is really a goal that all parents have for their teenagers and for their adult children, that they'll be able to kind of manage and be successful in life. And it starts really early. And that's one of the reasons why I love that program.
Yeah. No, I love the circle of security. I think I didn't understand it for a season of my life where I was like, well, I just need a break. Like, I don't want you to call out to me and all. And I realized, oh, I'm not taking care of myself as I'm taking care of you, which was probably some of the challenges that I had in communicating with my little one. And I think that happens more commonly than not for parents because we can get overwhelmed and feel stressed out in so many different ways. And so I'm assuming you equip parents with some tools as to how they can get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is just to see the circle, and it's kind of hidden in plain sight, right? So you're able to finally recognize that your child's behavior is communicating a need.
Mhm.
And Circle of Security has this really cool mantra, and it's everything you need to know in like 22 words. And it's always be bigger, stronger, kinder, and wise. And whenever possible, follow your child's need. Whenever necessary, take charge. And I just think that this really sets a parent up for success, especially when we think about challenges with tantrums and like you've got to get to the doctor's appointment and your child is having a tantrum. You can know in that moment that you can take charge. And if there's a rupture in the relationship, you can take the steps needed to repair, right? You were talking about needing some self-care time for yourself. Absolutely right. If you're not managing your own emotions, how can you have the capacity to manage a toddler's emotions?
Yeah.
So there's this really great balance that the program teaches so that parents can kind of show up for their children in this no nonsense tenderness kind of way, like just caring and loving, and also with good boundaries and firmness so that you can kind of get where you need to go without shutting down your child's emotions.
Yes. I love that. And I love in the circle of security how they talk about being the good enough parent because none of
No,
us need to be this perfect parent, which I think in that season of my life, I was striving for that perfection and
mhm.
learning and understanding like those are things to let go of. Like, definitely was not serving me or my loved ones.
Oh my gosh. Did you know that you only have to be in sync with your child 30% of the time for it to be good enough to develop secure attachment?
Yes. Yes. I actually just heard it was 20%.
Oh, is it?
I was like, it's even better. I was like, I love it. Because a lot of times we're striving and we feel like 50% of the time I'm winning. I'm like, actually, if you're doing 50%, like you've overdone it.
Right? Great job. A plus.
So, well, thank you, Monica. That's super helpful. I'm wondering if someone in the community is looking to figure out how can they support TAPS? Is it through volunteering, donations, or advocacy? What does that look like for someone to get involved with your group?
There are so many different ways to get involved. And there's a link on our website where folks could sign up for and learn more about all the different ways to volunteer. Right now, I have volunteers who are helping me write blogs and work on the newsletter. I have volunteers that are helping us with social media and sharing programs in groups and online. We have event volunteers that are helping us prepare for and distribute items to families in need at our annual community baby showers. We have volunteers who commit a significantly larger amount of time by being group facilitators. All of our PEPS group facilitators are volunteers, and we give them training and materials and support, and then they can facilitate PEPS groups. So we're always looking for more PEPS group volunteer facilitators. Um, and then we've even had some volunteers in the community with expertise come and lead workshops for us, which is super fun. It's really fun to engage all of the expertise that's out in the community. Um, I'm sure there's a couple of other volunteer opportunities listed on the website, but those are the ones I can think of right now.
Love it. And I know you do community showers. And one of the things I just wanted to highlight is that I'm always happy to be a drop off spot for anyone in the Holly Springs, Apex, Fuquay Arena area. But people can also drop items off to the Blush co working station. So um, I wanted to just share that because there's a list. And the nice thing about that list is that you also accept gently used items. So it doesn't always have to be new
Yeah.
items. So I just wanted to highlight that because I think that's amazing. Because sometimes parents are like, what do I do with this baby stuff? And so TAPS would be so grateful to take them off
Yeah.
their hands.
Yeah, because the programs that we offer support both families with lots of resources and families with fewer resources. There's always a family in need of that bassinet that you're done with, that diaper changing table that you're done with, or the baby carrier you're done with, or your sleep sacks. All of these items are, they're expensive, and if you can get a nice one that's gently used, then it's so helpful because then you can divert those resources to something else as you're planning for that baby.
Yeah. No, I love it. Thank you, Monica, for all of that work that you're doing with Triangle Area Parenting Support, because it is truly amazing. And it's been awesome to see how much the organization has grown. And I love all your hard work that you put into it. It's super amazing.
Thanks.
And so we could probably talk all day, but I want to dive into the 5 loving lessons that you've learned. And I'm wondering what your favorite parenting product or service is.
Yeah, right now, and this is probably because my kids are a little bit older, my very favorite thing is that Circle of Security parenting program. I have used it with my children to help them understand their relationships with each other, and that has
Oh,
prevented conflict. Yeah. So it's super powerful.
that's interesting. I probably should really, well, I do try to explain it to my teenagers when they're around younger kiddos. I'm like, do you see how they're just kind of checking in with you? But yeah, maybe really diving into the diagram would be super helpful. I'm going to post that in if you're listening to this podcast, I'll encourage you to check out the blog post so you can see the images and you can click on the links and check that out for the Circle of Security. Monica, what is your best self-care tip? What do you like to do to take care of you?
Yeah, so this comes from a therapist that I had a few years ago. And she said, look, I don't care what the weather is like. You need to get outside and you need to move 30 minutes every day. So being outside and getting some kind of movement, if you're able to run, run. If you like to walk, walk. But doing that outside 30 minutes every day.
Yeah. And maybe just sit if that's all you can do.
Wiggle your toes. That's movement for sure.
There you go. I love it. And what is something you never thought you would do or say?
I never thought that I would say to my kids because I said so.
I'm
I,
assuming I'm assuming you heard that one before.
I have said that, and it's usually because we don't have time for me to explain to you all of the reasons why this is the right move in this moment. But yeah, I hate that I have said because I said so to my kids.
Yes, me too. What's the one thing that you want parents to really know and take away from our conversation today?
I think just the idea that they are not alone, that there's always someone else out there who has a similar experience, and that being vulnerable, sharing your story, and then being willing to connect with a community um, is going to change your parenting journey. Just
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I love that you brought that up earlier in our conversation, sharing your story and the power that your story has for somebody else in this season of life can be so impactful. Yeah. And what is the one thing you've learned in your entrepreneurial journey? Because I know as a nonprofit, like this is a big undertaking.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've grown this organization from it being just me to now having a team of people that work for me. And so the most important thing that I've learned is the power of a team, right? Like if it takes
Mhm.
a community, like a village to raise a child, it takes a village to run a nonprofit organization. And right now, the team that I have that I'm working with is just so fabulous. The board that leads and guides our strategy and our direction as an organization is so supportive. That team is, you can't do it without a team.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Monica. I so appreciate having you here, and I can't wait to see the amazing things that TAPS continues to do right here in our area. So until next time, bye. Thanks for tuning into today's show. You can see all of the details and show notes below. And as you go out into your day, I hope that you'll make it your mission to be calm, confident, and rested as you lead today. Sweet dreams.